Good evening. Ira Epstein with your financial market wrap-up, and this wrap-up's for the evening of Monday, the last day, trading day at least, of June 30th, 2025 at 6:35 p.m. You're a little bit lower in the stock market, but that's been the patterns. You're up, then you pull back a little, and you continue to rally for new highs. I write tonight about how spectacular this quarter was. I mean, if you think about it, the market goes into correction territory down on April 7th, breaking apart. You get a rally. And I would say me and probably most other analysts would have thought that there'd be another test coming back down of those lows. You rallied for about 4 or 5 days, broke a little bit, and then you took off, and you've never really looked back since that point in time. So I was listening today to the market analysts, CNBC and Bloomberg talk about this, and to a person, their experience, and they realized this was highly unusual. And to end the market, in many cases in stock indices, with double digits. I mean, just very, very impressive. So will the market take a break? Who knows? Where are you going to go with the tax bill? Where are the tariffs? All this is coming to a head right now. We have a jobs report coming out on Thursday. Tomorrow morning, you get the JOLTS report. So let's take a look at tomorrow, what you get. Redbook retail sales. They've been running 4.5% to 5.5% increases week over week, basically. The Global Group's going to release their U.S. final, the word is here, final, June manufacturing sector PMI, and that comes out at 8:45. Then the ISM will release their June manufacturing sector index. That's just an index rather than how you get to some of the other spending within it and where you're at. Construction spending, that's the word spending in my brain. The construction spending data for May comes out at 9 o'clock, so this will give us an idea of what happened. But remember, that's still 30 days ago. We're now finishing June today. So that data was way back. But now here's something that everybody will look at. The JOLTS report, the job openings and labor turnover survey. So JOLTS is going to be important. What you're going against is a number that was 7,391 last month. Now, the reality is you've been lower than that recently. You then had a spurt back up, and we're all scratching our head. How strong is this market? And job openings are very important. Plus, how many people are actually staying in their jobs? I don't think that there's a lot of sideways movement going on. This will be looked at real hard in anticipation of what Friday's jobs report might show. And then we'll get the API numbers coming out, and they'll come out at 3:30 in the afternoon. We had grain numbers today. We had acreage reports coming out. No big changes there. And crop conditions came out in the grains. I thought no big change one way or the other. Certainly nothing I think that's going to move the market. So the question is, what do you do with all this? Because the dollar continues to fall. The metal markets have been falling. They're trying to find some stability right now. Bonds and notes. The 10-year note today was at 4.22 and a fraction. So it has cut through everything. It's under the 4.25 area. Traders are asking themselves, could we go into 4%? Scott Bessent was on Bloomberg today, and he's focused all on the 10-year note. That's where his focus is. He may be your next named Fed chair. We don't know. We don't know who's going to be named and when they're going to be named. But there will be, from the looks of what the president wants to do, a shadow Fed chair. And that could come September or so. Wouldn't surprise any of us. And the Canadian dollar came roaring back because first we're going to get the digital taxes. Then at the last minute, Mark Carney said no digital taxes, and Parliament's even considering just abolishing it, that they don't have to come in. And everybody could look at Justin Trudeau and blame him. He's the bad guy. The problem is Canada and the U.S. got to find a common ground. They're our biggest trade partner. It's got to be found. Good news is happening with Mexico. The U.S. is going to be importing some more beef from Mexico. That'll start very shortly in July, I think July 7th. We'll be doing that through part of Arizona. And if it works, then they'll expand it to New Mexico and Texas. They're concerned about the screw worm, and they'll be monitoring very carefully what comes in. And if I were Mexico, every animal would be AAA checked before they cross that border. One case, and the president will stop it. What you've got here is the weekly Spider ETF, and as you can see, I mean, it's just gone from that low period here in April, and it just continued straight on up. Are we at a new contract high in the September contract? No. But you certainly have made new highs in the cash markets, and that's what the market looks at. The further back you go, you've got to add interest rates and so on, so there's always what's called the carry there. But you can get through that at 62.88. It's still 40 points away, close to what it was when I did this last night. When you look at the S&P in the pattern, it's a lower and low and then a vertical price rise. That rise has stayed over the 18-day average. Then we had the 200 and the 100. So the market was able, back in mid-June, to challenge the 18 and finally the 200, and it never really looked back. Once it went up, it just kept going, and it's been running the upper Bollinger Band. I call this the gorilla glue trade. And that's because for most of us, you go into a Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever you're shopping at. If you want to buy a super powerful glue, Gorilla Glue was typically it. There's other commercial glues that are stronger, obviously. But that was it. And when the market latches on, what it tries to do is force the slow stochastics to put both numbers over 90 for several days at a time. To what they do is they transform the market from being overbought to embedded. And until the red line closes under 79, from this point on, the markets normally gets bought fairly heavily on breaks in the market. Now, there's ways to do that. It's in my enhanced Bollinger Band course at our website, iraepstein.com. Suffice to say, you've got 5 days in a row, I believe, where the market's been over the upper band. You rarely go beyond 5. So we'll see if tomorrow it wants to do that. And look where the market went to in the NASDAQ, right to the contract high spot. And that's where the market's running into resistance. But here, too, you now got your embedded reading. So both of these markets, on good breaks in the market, will look to see, can they be bought? If you lose the red line, the objective initially on the downside would be the 18-day average and close of closes on both. But you're playing that won't be hit. There's a way to come in, and again, it's in the course that I have. When we look at the Dow, it is not the same. It is trying to embed. It's not there. It's got it's also got, as far as I'm concerned, the Gorilla Glue trade at work. Not so in the Russell, still the weakest of the indices, and still very far away from contract highs, which are even further up here. So you got a ways to go in this market, but we've expected that. My guess is this comes alive soon if interest rates by the Fed start coming down. I was looking today at the co-founder of BlackRock, and he was on TV in an interview on CNBC, and he thinks you can get 2, maybe 3 rate cuts this year. Pretty bright guy. That's interesting, okay? So he's looking for weakness to show up. We'll see. You know, he keeps mentioning the tariffs, the play on the economy. I have yet to see the tariffs are a one-time event. I've said that to you. When you put a 10% tariff on every time you buy and import the product, to me it's more expensive. It's 10% more than without the tariff, right? I mean, that's the way you got to look at it. And if the dollar is falling, your dollar is even buying less of those products. Strong dollars can afford in a cheaper currency elsewhere to buy more product. A weak dollar, go to a restaurant and it costs you more abroad. When you go to the DAX, I thought that you could make a run for the upper band. We talked about that last week. You didn't quite get there, but I think you're still going there. You are overbought. It's living in borrowed time, so I'm not looking for a lot more than that. That's not to say it can't do it, but that's about all that I'm looking for out of the market right now. In the bonds, you are playing now in the resistance area and have been for several, actually 5 days, at the 100-day average to the upper Bollinger Band, and you're stuck between the two. As the process goes on, you're embedding the slow stochastic. Now, you can't include tonight, but you can certainly include today. You had an 84 and a 90 reading. You had an 80 and an 82 reading, which means you probably weren't embedded the day before, and you weren't. You had one of the numbers under 80. So tomorrow's a very important day. Do we embed, or is this an overbought condition that wants to correct potentially back to 113.27? Same type of game going on here? Not completely. This market doesn't have that moving average up here. What it's got just right now is a support at the 18-day average and a fully embedded reading. So I still like what I'm seeing there. In the dollar index, this is that gorilla glue trade reversed. Like we had it in the stock indices going up, it's every day you're hitting this number, and it's trying to force the blue and the red to go sideways under 20 and stay there for several sessions. You don't even have the first session, you just oversold. The euro, though, is the flip-flop of it. And the euro has, let's get rid of Tuesday. Watch this. Both numbers over 80, both over 80 on Friday, and both over 80 the day before. I don't care about the day before that. You had your 3. Today was just the 4th. So I say that on good breaks, the trade is going to look at it again. There's a technique to this, and I won't share it here. It's in my course and in my subscriber videos. I go over them every morning when we see this. In the British pound, overbought into the Bollinger Band, running into a churn, if you will, but certainly a strong market. I wouldn't call it an uptrend, even though it's the highest high. A true uptrend has higher lows, higher highs. That's what you want to see. In this one, you're trying to establish that right now. In Bitcoin, as I told you, I think we're going to go sideways for a bit here. It's got all the hallmarks of wanting to keep and narrow in these Bollinger Bands and build either a base or a top right here. Now, the pundits think, obviously, it's going to be a top and the market's going to come crashing down. Not quite in that camp. I'm in the camp that still likes this, and I think it's going to build a base to try to actually move higher. In the energy markets, we have OPEC about to meet. There's a lot of talk. Which way will they go? Right now, the trend is down. You'd have to go back through last week's high in order to tell me that, hey, the market wants to negate that. And it's now fighting to stay underneath the green line, the 100-day average in the Brent. And by the way, this is now the September Brent, so we've changed the month. August, that was the month, is gone. You can still trade the August crude oil. Just be aware this goes off in July, and very shortly you could get delivery, but you got to look for first notice days where they are, and you certainly don't want to get involved in that. Lower highs, lower lows, so I'll probably soon, very shortly, move and trade these into the next month for Septembers and Septembers. You have the gasoline with a higher high and lower low. I took a broad swipe last week and said, I doubt you're going to get a rally in gasoline in front of July 4th. You know, the president's won the battle already. The gasoline stations have bought the gasoline. Even if you rallied right now 10 cents, that's not the gasoline they're going to have coming into them in most cases. They've already bought, paid for, and that gasoline will be delivered to them, and it's going to be at prices like this. And in natural gas, all that heat is gone. So you had that one big heat wave that we caught, and as I told you, they don't last long. Now the question is, what next? And that's going to be the big question. How much natural gas can the U.S. get countries or a bloc like the European Union to buy from the United States, Japan to buy our liquid natural gas? This is a product that's going to be in big play. But we have so much of it right now that I don't see the bull part. You'd have to get back over 2 weeks ago's highs in order to tell me you're negating the downtrend. But I talk about this and a heck of a lot more in my morning videos at 6 in the morning for my subscribers, which you can get a free trial to in our free offers, and in my Spider ETFs. In addition, you get all the other information that we have in there, and there is one heck of a lot of information. There's charting courses, free ones. They're not going to be the enhanced courses. We have 2 areas. I only include 2 courses in this to teach you how I teach. And I do the Arun indicator, which is price and time relationship. And then I give you the pivot points. They're videos. They work with it. They'll work with your charting software in most cases, but you can get our charting software also as a free offer, so you see how this all works out. Price counts, one of the most important tools you've seen. You ever wonder, Fibonacci numbers, Gann, they give you price objectives. You get that with price counts, a different way of looking at it. I've always considered it a combination of Fibonacci and swing lines. They tie in together, believe it or not, on steroids, and it's very important. Once you learn them, you keep up with them. That's in our QT charting. You can set up any of those. So just go to iraepstein.com, free offers. Check off what you want. At the bottom of the page, you put in your information, and so we can send everything out to you. I'm Ira. You have yourself a great day. I'll catch up with you all in my other videos tonight and in the morning flash video. Take care.